Hello. I hope that you have joined me today here on the 20th of May. Is it the 20th today? 19th of May, 2018. Today, it's a Saturday afternoon, actually, interestingly. We are trying a Saturday live streaming. We've tried various different days of the week, and we did put a poll out there and ask everybody, what day do you prefer? And thank you very much for responding to that, those of you who did. But you know what happened is we got an exact split in the middle. Some people, not some people, the result was that there was a complete across the board, every different days of the week suited different people, and it was equal all the way from Monday through to Saturday. But this is our first Saturday day of doing live streaming. So we will see how it goes. Maybe it'll be a good day for you to join us here at live streaming. We will see how that works out. So those of you who can join me and who are there to join me today on live streaming, thank you for joining. And I'd like to start with a cup of tea. You might know by now how important it is for us to have a cup of tea. And part of my live streaming is to be able to just spend some time with you, have some tea with you, and answer your questions. People have asked me what kinds of questions they can ask, and my answer to that is anything, because live streamings are about me being available to you just to answer whatever questions come to you. And in actual fact, it might not be a question pertaining to how's it going with your maths lessons or your actual day-to-day formal home education. It could be any topic related to life. And so today I wanted to share with you about bread, and I'll tell you why. Because of the fact that although that might seem like it's got nothing to do with home education, I believe it's got a lot to do with home education, because we just got into the habit of making our own bread, and there were a lot of reasons why we did that, which I will share with you. But we also shared it amongst the family. So it was whoever's duty it was at the time or task it was to do bread. And it's eventually landed up being our son. He became baker boy and he started making bread for us after he had learned how. And he has continued to make bread for us up to now. So this is something that is just part of our daily lifestyle, is making our own bread. And what I've been discovering lately, and that's why I'm talking about it today, is people have said to me, oh no, but they don't have time to make bread. And what else? That I think it's just the convenience of being able to buy bought bread is just helps. That's what they think. I don't think that's helpful because of what I'm going to be sharing with you just now. But what I'm going to do today is, while I'm just here on the live streaming and waiting to hear from anybody if they've got any questions they want to ask me, I'm going to just jump straight in and share with you more about this topic of bread. And in fact, I even have a slideshow to share with you. So I'm going to try something brand new that I've never done here before. And that is share the screen of this little slide presentation that we've put together for you. And when I say we, I actually have to give credit to Emma, because Emma, who came to help at Oikos a long time ago, I think it's 5 years, maybe it's not that long, but she came and helped us here at Oikos for a while. And Emma did Oikos home education. In fact, some of her testimonies are on the Oikos website. Jamie, are you able to put links now there to the website? Can you put a link for me for pointing people to Emma's testimonies? Because we went and chatted to Emma when she had completed home education and was moving into university, and she went to Stellenbosch. And we went to Stellenbosch and we sat at the Stellenbosch Gardens and we interviewed her and we asked her some questions about how's it been transitioning from Oikos, from being home educated into university life. And she's answered some of those questions on the interview we had with her. Now, that same Emma came and stayed with us here at Oikos for a while with our family. And while she was staying with us, we were doing the usual lifestyle of the various health things that we have in our daily living. And one of them was bread. And so she learned a whole lot about bread. And I asked Emma if she would compile a slideshow for us so that we had it to be able to share with people. So Emma, thank you. And all these years later, we are now live streaming. Would you ever have known? And I'm going to share with everybody this slideshow that you did for us. I'm going to try anyway. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to start. And this, you might think that this first slide should say bread. But the reason why it says grain is because I'm going to be telling you all about the grain in the bread. And so there's a lovely photo that Emma found for us on grain, wheat. So here we have, and also the other thing I wanted to tell you is that you can always just pause. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. And so I'm hoping that if you want to watch it later and teach your children about the importance of daily bread and why you feel as a family you need to invest in a bread maker or a mill, whichever it might be, or both. And you can teach your children from this, I hope, and show them the various different values and the minerals and vitamins and everything that is found in one single kernel, a wheat kernel. The kernel of wheat is composed of the outer bran layer, the germ, and the endosperm. It is rich in nutrients, many of which are concentrated in the bran and the germ. And as I go through this slideshow, you're going to see how sad it is that the most important part of the wheat kernel has been removed in the refining processing of making bought bread. Okay, so I've moved on to the next slide, and that being minerals. Various vitamins and numerous minerals are found in the wheat kernel. Look at that, the germ, the endosperm, and the bran. You can read that slide. On this particular slide, there is some pie graphs showing you the value of the minerals inside the wheat, and there's a whole lot of grain before it's been milled, not just wheat, rye, barley. There's some others there as well. You might spot some corn and so on. And here are some facts about different grains. There we've got the wheat and barley and rye, and it's showing you the different minerals and vitamins within the wheat or barley or rye kernel. And then the value of the different varieties. Different grains have different vitamins and different minerals. And so we did this slide, I mean Emma, and this one is vitamins. And you will see she's color-coded with wheat, barley, and rye. And you can see vitamin B1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Then she also put it into a bar graph. So you can see straight away by looking at that wheat has a very high vitamin B3 level. And you can see there that vitamin B1, 2, 3, 6, E, and then the rest. Okay, vitamins. Vitamin E, this is now, again, I can't really read what it says on the right, so I hope after the fact that you can pause this video and read the benefits of having vitamin E and why we shouldn't not have it. And we are not going to have it if we throw the kernel out of the flour, out of the bread that we are making. Because there are the reasons why we need to have vitamin E. And this is just a slide reminding us there are vitamins all the way around in our surroundings, in the natural food that we could be making for ourselves and making homemade bread for our family. These are the various minerals: calcium, iron, magnesium, manganese, phosphorus, potassium, here, all in the different percentages found in the different actual grains, is depicted there and again on a bar graph. So you as a family can possibly study this and have a look, and I'm hoping that by the time you finish going through this slideshow together, you're going to be making your own bread at home. And you're going to be getting the wheat from the field and you're going to be making your flour. Or if you can't make your own flour, you can just buy packet organic flour. Now I'm going to pause there because people tell me that it's too expensive. Organic flour is too expensive. And so I had a look at that and I saw it's about 5 Rand or so more than bought flour, even if it's 10 Rand more. First of all, your children are going to eat less because of the fact that they feel so full and nourished, and the nutrition of the homemade flour is much more satisfying. And secondly, it's going to be giving them these minerals and nutrients that I'm showing you here. So it's worth the extra money. All right. Here is refined white flour, and there is home milled wheat. You see there's a little tiny blue line. It looks so insignificant, but it's not really, because the refined flour has no vitamins and minerals, and the home milled flour does have vitamins and minerals. So then we have this slide. Is enriched bread or flour truly enriching? And we got this little story. When grain is made into refined white flour, more than 30 essential nutrients are largely removed. Only 4 of those nutrients are added back in a process called enrichment. If you're buying packet bread or bought bread in the shop, you might see there's a big label on it saying enriched. Okay, so using the same logic of enrichment, oh no, I can't read the rest of the slide. I can't read the slide to you because there's things covering it, but you can read that story there about how can we call it enriching when we've had, say, 300 Rand taken from us and we get 40 Rand back. We say, oh, we're enriched now. We got our 40 Rand back from the 300 that was stolen. So that's just a different way to approach it and think about it. I think this little lesson here is something that can be used on many levels in life. So maybe you can use that as an opportunity. This is a little tip to teach other lessons that you're wanting to teach your children about enrichment. And then we've got these chemicals. And now this is important that we understand that the chemicals that are used in making bread, a refined processed bread, this is why they're used. On this slide here, again, I can't read it, but you can read it in your time. This slide is going to be explaining why the chemicals need to be used and also the harmful effects that those chemicals can have on you by taking them, ingesting them, or giving them to your children to ingest. So there's another slide with the different reasons and explanations of the various chemicals. And furthermore, the nutritional value. Okay, now, once you've sourced the amazing whole grain, now what are you going to do? How do you use it? We used to find our grain from an organic farm. It was fantastic. We got it in, so many kilograms at a time, looked after it, and then we milled it. We had a variety of different mills, which I will get to. Oh, the very next slide has got some pictures of different mills. We've got a Kenwood. In that middle picture there, you'll see a Kenwood attachment that you can get onto the front of your Kenwood that mills grain. So that was fantastic. That's all we had for a while. I know a couple of people who've got that mill that you see on the top left-hand side of that picture, and those are also available from health stores and so on. And then we don't have that top left-hand one, but we found a mill at an Indian spice shop. And it's on wheels, and it looks like a little, say, individual cupboard, that single little cupboard that looks like it stands next to a bed, a pedestal type of a thing, a little bit higher than that. I haven't got a photograph of that to show you, but we bought this mill. Now, you would think it's a very expensive thing to have. However, we bought all the different grains, the rye and barley and wheat, whichever we could get. We even got some combination grains, I can't remember their names now, where they had combined rye and barley and gave it a different name. And we used those grains, we put them into the mill, and we could mill it as fine as we like, or coarser to make it whole wheat. And then we used that milled flour in our bread. And we would either make it by hand, the bread by hand, or with the bread maker. Now, let me tell you something. If you've got yourself a bread maker, or if you haven't, I suggest you get one, because this is how long it takes you to make your bread with a bread maker. You take your flour. Now, if you haven't milled it, you actually can either buy the flour, the organic flour, or if you're going to buy the grain, if you can get it. I can't find it anymore, so I'm a bit sad because we used to always get it from this farm. We can't anymore, so now we're buying the actual organic flour from the shops. And so our mill is sitting there waiting to receive some grain when we can find it again. But we don't like just buying any grain. We like to buy organically grown grain. And it is possible because there are many farms around South Africa that are actually growing the different grains. So it's just a case of trying to find the connection, the contact. And so I'm going to suggest you persevere with that, and you try and you ask around and you ask at the health shops, and you see if maybe the health shops can actually source some grain for you. Or ask friends that are farmers, or whatever it might be. But that's what we did, and we eventually sourced our grain, which we now no longer can, as I've said. And so now we're buying flour, organic flour, until we can find the grain again. So anybody who's watching this who can tell me about where I can get grain, I'd love to know about that. So For those of you who aren't making your homemade bread yet, and I'm suggesting you get yourself a bread maker, this is what it takes. You put a few cups of flour into the bread make with some water and some yeast and some salt, and you hit go on the bread maker, and you leave it. And the next morning, you can do that at night when you go to bed. The next morning, there's bread. Your whole house is smelling of this lovely, delicious homemade bread. Or you can put it on in the morning, and then it's ready for lunchtime, because it takes a couple of hours, maybe an hour and a half, less, more, a little bit, depends on your bread maker. But the point being is it takes you as long as it takes you time to put the ingredients into a bin. That's the bread bin that comes inside the bread maker. You put your ingredients in there, you put the bin into the bread maker, close the lid, push the button, and wait. And it goes through the whole process, the kneading and the rising and the process that's required to make a loaf of bread. And now out comes your bread. Now sometimes you might find that you're not happy, you're satisfied with the bread because maybe it's got a bit sunken in the middle, or it could be a complete disaster, you get a big hole in the center. And then that's when you start just becoming used to your bread maker. So I can't give you an exact recipe, because it depends on your climate, whereabouts in the country you are, which region. And so you just got to learn your bread maker. You can go onto Google and you can say, my bread is sinking in the middle and I've got such and such a bread maker. And now you can teach your children to do that and how to research something and to be problem solvers and find the solution to why the bread is not as good as you want it to be. And you'll go through these steps until eventually you'll be very satisfied and you will have a perfect loaf of bread. In another instance, you might have a perfect loaf of bread from the very first loaf that you make. But the best part is that you're going to be giving your children homemade bread every day. It might take a bit of practice getting into it, and once you've done that, you won't buy bought bread again. And when I say you won't, I mean if we're traveling and we're on the road, we're not taking our bread maker along with us. So we do buy bought bread, but what we do is we go to the bakery section of the store and we ask them for the bread they've made that day. At least we know then it's daily baked bread. It's not necessarily the packet bread that has got lots of the various chemicals and stuff added to it to make it have a longer shelf life and those things. So I hope that this sharing with you today about making your own bread is really going to inspire you in your home education to teach your own children to make bread, and that you yourself will become convicted with the value of making bread at home every day for your children. And now, Jamie, I just want to know if there's any questions that I'm missing that I haven't seen or asked, or because I'm a bit unsure of how this is working. Okay, and not even sure how long we've been going, because that again is confusing for me, because I'm not familiar with all of this. I've been saying that every live stream for the last few weeks now, so it's time I did some practice sessions and got used to how to do this without not knowing what I'm doing half the time I'm talking to you. But be that as it may, please be patient with me as I get used to live streaming, and I just hope that today, this live streaming about making your own daily bread and teaching your children to make bread, and that it's going to be supportive to you in your home education, your learning lifestyle, healthy living. I hope all of that is going to become part of your daily living, your daily routine. And I hope that your whole family will have the benefit of the nutrition that comes from eating bread every day. Now, I just want to, before I say goodbye to everybody, I just want to say that I have had people saying, but we can't because my child or my husband or me or somebody has got some intolerance of some kind. What we have discovered from that is that the intolerance is very often due to the volume of chemicals they've taken in from processed food, not necessarily the wheat itself. So we put this to the test a little bit. Now, I'm not suggesting you do this, or as you know, I'm not a doctor or anything and giving advice here, but we had someone staying with us that wasn't able to eat any wheat because they were something intolerant. I can't remember what it was. Gluten intolerant. And we said, well, you know what? We make our own bread, we mill our own grain, so let's just try it and see. And she was quite astounded that she could eat this homemade bread and not have the rash and the symptoms and the stomach aches and whatever else, the bad symptoms she was having when she was eating bought bread. So we worked out that it wasn't actually the wheat's fault, you see. It wasn't the grain, and she wasn't gluten intolerant. She had become chemical resistant or something. So basically when she maybe had an overload of chemicals in her system, I'm not sure. As I say, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going into the science of it all. I can just tell you the experience that in the time she was staying with us, which was quite a few months, she didn't have any of these side effects of having this condition. And then when she went back to her convenient living of being able to just grab bread or roll or pie, whatever it was that wasn't homemade and had the chemicals added and the goodness taken out, she had the symptoms again. So maybe that's just something to think about and consider that it might be doing yourself and your spouse or your children a big favor if you are dealing with some sort of intolerance of some kind that has been labeled as you've got an allergic reaction to some natural food that actually was God-given, and now you've got an allergic reaction to it. So that's what made me start thinking, wait a minute, if God gave that to us for our well-being and our healthy living, then why would we be developing all these allergies from it? So that's why we put this to the test with this young lady that was staying with us, and she didn't have these side effects. So I hope that has been helpful today to you on our live streaming here on the 19th of May on a Saturday. So we will next time live stream on a different day of the week and see how that goes. But for now, thank you very much. I hope this has been helpful and supportive, and hope to see you again soon. Bye.